This is App Stories, a weekly exploration of the world of apps. Today's show is brought to you by Linode, SetApp, and Direct Mail. I'm John Voorhees, and with me is my co-host, Federico Viticci. Hi, Federico.
Hello, John. How are you?
Doing really well. I think, despite the very convoluted schedule we got out of Apple last week at the keynote, it worked to both of our advantages, and I think we're a little less stressed than maybe we were the last time we spoke.
Well, I was expecting initially to be forced to publish my iOS 13 review today on Monday the 16th. And in fact, it is not going to be published today, but later this week, because iOS 13 is coming out on Thursday, September 19th. iPadOS to follow on September 30th, which I was not expecting, but, it is what it is. And so I was able to get a few extra days out of Apple's schedule, which is good because it allowed me to go spend a day at the beach and, just relax a little and read the review one last time in a more relaxed and chill environment.
Right.
So it's coming out on Thursday. It's going to be both iOS 13 and iPadOS. Even if it's still not technically out to the public, iPadOS is basically finished. I mean, it's coming out in 10, on the 30th. So it's basically done. The review will also include what's new in 13.1, and it will include a very, very deep dive into shortcuts and everything that is changing in shortcuts this year. It is massive, and it's coming out in 3 days. Should be interesting. I hope that everything goes well.
I do too. I think it will. I mean, it's gone really well the last couple of years, and I'm really looking forward to you being able to get it out there too. Because I haven't read the whole thing, but I've been able to read through parts of it, and I've really enjoyed it. I think it's really your best review yet. So stay tuned, everybody, for that. I wanted to remind everybody too that it is still Club Mac Stories month. So.
Yes.
If you're a member, you can still get the deals until this coming Friday, the 20th of September. You can get deals on over 50 apps and services. And all you need to do is log into your Club Mac Stories account, and you'll see the information there about how to take advantage of those deals. And if you're not a member, it's a perfect time to join because there is up to something like $600 worth of deals there. And so for just $5 a month or $50 a year, you can get an incredible savings right up front. So it makes the club pay for itself, frankly. So check that out.
All right, John. We had an Apple event last week.
We did. It seems like so long ago already, but yes, we had an Apple event, and it was a strange event. I mean, I feel like the I don't know. I mean, if you want to get really meta, just the organization of it and the way it was presented seemed very different to me. And maybe that's because the iPhone's becoming a mature product and some of these other things are taking up, more of the limelight that the iPhone used to have. Or maybe it's because certain things that were supposed to come out got pulled and they had to drop things into different order. But who knows? But at the same time, we still got a lot of news, and we got a lot of news about apps. And this being App Stories, we thought we ought to talk about that today.
And the first app is Compass. Very exciting. So I'm not kidding. We're going to talk about the Compass. There's a new Apple Watch coming out, the Apple Watch Series 5. Are you buying one, John, by the way?
Yes. I have already ordered it. I got the
nice.
The 44 millimeter cellular version because I do like to use my watch.
Of which material?
Oh, aluminum. The space gray aluminum. Yeah, it's the same one that I have actually right now, which I've really enjoyed, and it goes well with all the bands that I have. I'm really looking forward to the always on feature because I like to go out for a jog wearing my Apple Watch and leaving my phone behind. And that's, that is an issue when you're running along with your arms at your side. You have to kind of very deliberately raise your arm for it to light up and show you your workout stats. It's going to be a lot easier to do that in the future. I don't really go far enough away from home to need a compass for it, but I guess I will have that option going forward, right?
Well, maybe for those times when you get lost, you may need compass on your
Yes,
watch.
yes, running around the block. I might take a wrong turn, and who knows where I'll be.
Yeah, and suddenly you may be wondering where is north? Where am I supposed to go now?
Right.
There's a new first-party compass app that's available on the Series 5. It plugs directly into the raw data exposed by the sensors that are now available inside the Apple Watch. Of course, it's a complication. So you can put the compass right there on your watch face, and there's a bunch of details that the compass app will reveal to you: latitude, longitude, elevation, and incline. All those metrics will be exposed by the compass app. Nice, I guess. I mean, I just like you. I don't think I've ever used a compass. I understand why it is essential for some people. Like, I have a friend of mine. He sails on a boat.
Okay.
For the entire summer. He basically is like, it's very difficult to describe for me because I don't know what the correct word is. He sails for money. So he drives the boat. Do you drive a boat? What's the correct verb?
I think you just sail a boat.
Is sail a boat.
Is it a sailboat or is it a motorboat? I don't even know. Is it a yacht? What is it?
It's not a yacht. It's a sailboat. But like,
it's a sailboat. Okay.
He takes you on a tour of like Sardinia or other beautiful islands in Italy. So like, you pay him money and he takes care of sailing the boat and managing the boat, and you just travel and take pictures and swim in the Mediterranean Sea and eat food that he catches, of course. It's a whole package. And so anyway, he needs the compass. I mean, it's an amazing job, and he's very good at it.
It does sound good.
He's the guy who sent me the pictures of the Steve Jobs yacht. Right. Off the coast of Sardinia a few months ago. Anyway, he uses the compass all the time, right? Because he actually needs to know.
Right, he's out in the ocean.
He's out in the middle of the ocean. Needs to know. So there are people who absolutely need the compass. I'm not one of them, but I think it's pretty cool that on a watch you can now have this little utility that this little watch is packed full of sensors, which make a compass possible now.
Yeah, no, it is pretty cool. And I think one thing that's probably more practical for you and me is that to the Maps app, they have added the ability to see what direction you're facing. So when you're walking down the streets of Rome, you'll know which way you're going down the block and have an idea whether you're turned around or not. So that's
still
new.
Though, you got to be using the Maps app on the watch.
Yeah, no, I know. This is it's related. I mean, it's direction and that sort of thing, but it's not the compass app itself. It looks very nice, and I will undoubtedly play with it for a little while and then not use it a lot after that. This episode of App Stories is brought to you by Linode. With Linode, you can instantly deploy and manage an SSD server in the Linode cloud. And you can get a server up and running in just seconds with your choice of Linux distro, resources, and node location. Linode serves their customers with the help of 10 data centers spread across the globe, and they're about to add even more, with Mumbai, India, and Toronto, Canada coming online before 2020. Linode features native SSD storage, a 40 gigabit network, and Intel E5 processors. What that means to you is that you're going to be able to serve your customers even faster than ever before. And so that you don't have to stress about overspending, Linode have designed their pricing tiers to feature hourly billing with the added bonus of a monthly cap on all plans and add-on services such as backups and node balancers. Linode has a pricing option to suit everyone's needs. Their plans start at just 1 gigabyte of RAM for $5 a month, and they offer high memory plans starting with 16 gigabytes of RAM. I love this pricing. It's a great deal, and we use Linode at Mac Stories for our Slack bot, for instance, and have been happy with both the service, the responsiveness, and the pricing ever since we started. And Linode has a special deal just for listeners of App Stories. As a listener of this show, you can go to linode.com/appstories and use the promo code AppStories2019 to get $20 towards any Linode plan. On the 1 gigabyte of RAM plan, that's like 4 free months, which is a great deal. And with a 7-day money-back guarantee, you'll have nothing to lose. Give Linode a try today. That's linode.com/appstories and the promo code AppStories2019 to learn more, sign up, and make the most of that $20 credit. Our thanks to Linode for their support of the show.
There's also this change that I wasn't able to fully grasp. International emergency calling on the Series 5 watch.
Right. Yeah, I think, that's in the United States, it's calling 911 if you're having an emergency. Right. And I know it's different in other countries, obviously. And I suppose what they've done is just program that in so that it knows that, like, if I come visit Italy, that I'm in Italy. And if I hit that...
That wasn't the case before?
I don't think so. So I think before, if you bought a U.S. watch and I was in Italy, it would call 911. And this way, it would call whatever the service is in Italy. So,
oh my God, Sylvia's watch, if she uses the emergency feature, it's going to call 911. And she has no idea. Oh no.
Well, is she getting a new one? We won't tell her.
No. I had no idea. She said she set it all up with the emergency contact. She was very proud of that, and it's not going to work. It's going to call 911.
I think that's what the case is. But all right. Well, maybe not. But yeah, that's a new feature.
No, I think it's going to call 911.
Okay. All right. So that's it for the watch. We don't really have much more to say about the watch, I don't think. I mean, did you order a watch?
Not yet. Thinking about it, I'm going to, but as I talked about on Connected, I wanted to avoid the pressure of day one. It's gone really bad for me over the past couple of years, trying to absolutely get a new watch or a new phone on day one. And it adds so much pressure to my life that I've decided not to play this game anymore. So after everybody else has got a new phone and a new watch, I'll get mine. And it's fine. It's like... All right. The past couple of years, thinking about, I need to stay home, I need to never miss the delivery guy, that was really bad for me. So much pressure. So you guys will, you and Ryan will have new iPhones and new watches, and you're gonna, maybe write something for Mac Stories, and you're gonna talk about it on App Stories. I am going to wait. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get both an 11 Pro and the Series 5, just not on day one.
Yeah, well, I don't expect that we'll have very long to wait before you have both yourself. So I'm not too worried about you, Federico. I did feel that anxiety when we were in the middle of covering the event, and I think Alex was the one who said something like, "Oh, the dates are slipping for the watches," because the watches went on sale immediately during the event or right after, and I was busy writing, and I went, and fortunately, the specific model I wanted was still available for the 20th, but he had said that some version of it was slipping into late September, early October. But I have no idea where that sits now. I have not looked. And now all I have to do is figure out what color of phone I'm going to get, because we're going to talk about some phone apps now. And, I'm going to, of course, get a Pro Max. I just don't know what color. At first, I was thinking, for a moment, for a very short time, I thought the green one, because the pictures during the keynote looked really nice. Then I saw some of the hands-on pictures, and I thought, that doesn't really look so nice. and it looks kind of as, I think you sent the, what was it, the sick emoji, getting sick emoji. Looks a little like that. I kind of agree, same color, and. But the other options are gold, space gray, and silver. And I've got a silver one now. That was where I was going to go. And now I'm starting to think space gray after seeing MKBHD's video, his hands on, because it does look pretty nice.
It looks really good.
This episode of App Stories is brought to you by SetApp, the app subscription service created by the developers of Clean My Mac. SetApp is the Mac app suite that should have been. The makers like to think of it as an app buffet. Pay one fee and gain immediate access to an ever-growing collection of over 130 of the very best Mac apps, all curated to make your day more productive. SetApp has impeccable design, too. It's modeled to be just as beautiful as the device that it's running on. The collection grows as members recommend apps, so there's no need to buy separate licenses or subscriptions for apps like Ulysses and Flume or iStat Menus. They're all in setapp.store. The SetApp collection covers every possible category you could think of. There's graphic design and coding, to-do lists, personal finance, audio enhancement, photo editing, travel, mail clients, and a whole lot more. Try every single app in the collection for free with their 1-week free trial. Go to setapp.com now to check out the apps and try it for free. That's setapp.com. Our thanks to Setapp for their support of App Stories.
All right, let's talk about the camera app. Some major changes coming to the camera app on the iPhone 11, and that is because of the new camera modes and the new ultra wide lens that Apple has built into the iPhone 11 and the iPhone 11 Pro. I guess at a high level, on the iPhone 11 Pro, you're going to be able to switch between the three lenses. So you got the wide camera, the telephoto, and the ultra wide. And you're going to have these three buttons. There's a new UI. So whereas before it used to be a toggle between 1x and 2x, and you could press that button to adjust the zoom level, now there's going to be three buttons. So you can choose between 0.5, which will be the ultra wide, 1x and 2x. And you can still adjust the zoom manually with a wheel. If you want to get real precise and see, what exactly the zoom level is, and when you're toggling between different focal lengths.
That's right. You're very good. You're very good.
I got it.
You got it.
So you still got the wheel, but now you have those three buttons in the viewfinder. I think it looks very nice. And this is for the iPhone 11 Pro. Of course, the iPhone 11 doesn't have three lenses. It's got only two of them. I also like very much what Apple is doing to suggest to you visually that you could capture more information if you wanted by switching to the ultra wide lens. So on the iPhone 11 Pro, the viewfinder UI, it shows you when you're using the regular wide camera, so the 1x camera, shows you in the viewfinder exactly what the photo is going to look like. But across the edges of the viewfinder, it shows you like a blurred version of what the ultra wide could capture. So it's sort of looking at both lenses simultaneously, and it's sort of like it serves as a visual hint that tells you if you switch to this camera, you're going to capture more of this scene. And I think that's a beautiful touch.
Yeah, it looks really nice. I mean, what they've done is they've made the controls in the app transparent, so you can actually see the live image beneath the controls, which is what gives you the suggestion that you can capture more if you like. And that wide angle lens, they've done a really good job of building that into a lot of clever modes. Another one that's interesting to me is how the selfie camera now, you can take a selfie just like you normally would have, and it looks, the same dimensions, the portrait dimensions. But as soon as you turn your hand sideways and go into landscape mode, it automatically switches to the wide angle lens, so it can capture, a wide picture of a bunch of people in the frame where it couldn't do that before. Then that's just that's all kind of automatic. It's just a matter of turning your hand, and it automatically switches to that lens.
There's a new SF camera font, which Apple is really
it's so pro, Federico.
Or so I hear from Phil Schiller. It's a very pro font. I'm actually looking forward to being able to somehow extract this font from the iOS operating system file, from the firmware file, and somehow use it in other apps. In iOS 13, you can install custom fonts directly. They're going to show up in settings. So maybe I should find a way to install SF Camera.
I would start with iMazing, because you can usually dig down into the bundle with that, and you might be able to extract the font file. I don't know.
That's a good idea. What I love, this was one of the features that I was hoping would come to the camera, night mode. Finally.
Yes, finally. Apple
is matching what others, namely Google and I think Huawei, have been offering with their night modes in their cameras on Android phones. There's going to be a night mode in the iPhone 11, but it's not going to be, at least in this initial version, not a setting, not an option that you need to manually enable or disable. The system decides on its own whether it should offer the night mode version of a photo. So if it's too dark, the iPhone 11 will choose to use night mode. And I haven't played with this, of course, but I guess you will be able to accept the suggestion or not. I'm not sure. Judging from the examples that Apple shared, it looks very good. It looks a bit more natural than what Google has been doing with the Pixel. The night mode photos taken on the Pixel I've always found to be impressive, but a little too unrealistic. And I feel like, judging from the sample shots that Apple shared, they may be going for a more realistic, natural look. so that it shows you that it was a photo taken in a dark environment, but it wasn't pitch black. So they're doing, of course, they are enhancing the photo and using, longer exposure to light up the photo, even if you're shooting in a completely dark room. But they're still going to have that yellow brownish tint that seems to suggest it was taken in a dark place instead of making it look like it was taken in bright daylight.
Right. That was my impression as well. Because when you take at least the photos I've seen with the Google Pixel, they look like they're daylight. I mean, it almost changes them into a daytime scene. Whereas at least what Apple showed off still looked like either a darkened room or a darkened street. Now, the thing with a lot of this with the camera app is that you're not really going to get a sense for how does this compare to the Google Pixel or some other phone, or do I like this or not, until you actually get these phones in the hands of regular people and not professional photographers. Because I'm just curious what it's going to be like when I take my first dark mode picture. Is it going to just be a blurry mess, or is it going to look really nice? And there's no way to really know that. I mean, I think the other thing, as you mentioned, it is automatic. There's a little icon that shows up near the top of the screen, which is in yellow, and it tells you how long the shutter is going to be open. So it might say 3 seconds, and that way you've got to kind of hold your hand still for those 3 seconds, so you get a good shot, which I think is great, because otherwise, you might be used to doing what you normally would do, is like snap off a quick picture and then put your phone back in your pocket. You can't do that. You'll have to hit the shutter, hold it there for a couple of seconds, and then you're done. And so hopefully that'll make the pictures a little bit nicer.
Burst mode still there, despite the fact that there's a new gesture to start recording a video by long pressing the shutter button. But that used to be the gesture for burst mode, but there's still, there's a way that you can basically hold down the button, then swipe, and you're still going to be able to take burst photos, which is cool, because I'm one of the few people that still uses that feature. They are perfect for converting to GIFs later.
Yeah, no, I've used those as well. And what you do is you're pressing down, you're holding on the button, and you go left for burst, and you go right to lock into video mode. So you don't have to hold the button the entire time you hold down the shutter button. Normally you would just tap it and take your picture. If you hold your finger there, it switches over to video, but it's not like Instagram where you have to hold it there the entire time you're recording. If you slide your finger over to the right, then it's just kind of locked in video mode for however long you want.
Right. Yeah, that's very nice. Editing changes. Apple sort of went over all the changes coming to photo and video editing. These are not exclusive to the iPhone 11. If you upgrade to iOS 13 and iPadOS 13, you're going to get all the same editing features inside Photos. So not the camera app, but it's related to Photos, to the camera. Which is impressive, because it feels like Apple really almost built a prosumer type of photo and video editing utility. They are packing so many features into the new editing UI. You can adjust individual values for saturation and exposure, contrast, white point, all the kind of stuff. It's presented more clearly than before. There's more controls than before, and it is really impressive and remarkable from a performance perspective what Apple has been able to achieve here. You can apply filters in real time, and you can zoom in on the detail of a photo. But not only photos, you can apply a filter to a 4K video, for example, and pinch to zoom on a 4K video while applying effects inside of the editing UI, which I think is really, really astounding that you can now do that on a phone. You can record 4K video, and you can preview filters and effects in real time, and you can even zoom in on individual details and play a video as you're zoomed in, which I think is impressive.
It's super impressive. If anybody has ever tried using something like Final Cut Pro to edit 4K video, you know that it's really requires a lot of computing power, and the fact that you can do it on a handheld device is just amazing. Federico, I wanted to mention too Filmic Pro, because that's a third-party app.
Yes.
But, that's a third-party app, but it got a little bit of stage time. They had a movie director and one of the team members from Filmic Pro come out and explain how they shot a video of two musicians. And what's really neat about and this is not out yet, but it's coming later this year, Filmic Pro is going to allow you to take simultaneous streams of video using the different cameras on the iPhone. So you can have you can even do this like simultaneously with the selfie camera and the ones on the back. So you can film a conversation between two people by just putting the phone in between them, or you can have both the zoomed out wide angle lens shot and a tighter shot with the telephoto lens, and be recording those simultaneously, and then go in and edit and use all that footage when you're putting together your final film. I was kind of blown away that was even possible, because it's not, we know that these cameras and the chips inside these phones are capable of recording this stuff in a single stream, but this is multiple streams of video going on simultaneously and all available to you when you sit down to edit your video later on.
Yeah, it was very impressive. And it's, I'm surprised that this kind of feature doesn't actually exist in some of the Apple apps. It makes total sense to have that real-time preview of multiple lenses and what is going on. It makes sense that, the Filmic guys, they've been doing a fantastic job in building a really pro app for iPhone over the past few years. But this is the kind of feature that I would love to see in the camera app as well. Like, give me a grid where I can see a real-time preview of all the different cameras that I have, and maybe let me record a video with all of them at the same time. That would be pretty neat. We should mention, and maybe you understood it better than I did, what is Deep Fusion, John?
It's a guy on a couch with a beard and a fancy sweater. All right. So I think Stephen Hackett did a pretty good job of explaining this to you guys on Connected. But what it's doing is it's fusing a whole bunch of different images all at once into a single image. I am not sure how much different this is than Smart HDR, because it's doing some of the similar things of bracketing different exposed shots and combining them. But I think the difference, the secret sauce here is, of course, your friend and mine, machine learning. It is using machine learning somehow to enhance this even further. And the reason they used a guy sitting on a couch with a very complex looking sweater with a bunch of colors is that they wanted to show how detailed the sweater was, because they zoomed in on the the individual threads, and you could see the detail there was all very sharp. And I don't think that demo really did it justice. I hope that's another one of those things we're going to have to try it ourselves to see exactly what it does. And I feel like it's one of those things that until you use it, you're not going to really understand what it's accomplishing. This episode of App Stories is brought to you by Direct Mail, an easy-to-use email marketing app designed exclusively for the Mac to help you create and send great-looking email newsletters. Email marketing is still an incredibly cost-effective way to reach your customers and to grow your business. And for the past 15 years, Mac users around the world have trusted and relied on the Direct Mail app to handle all of their email marketing needs. It's designed just for the Mac, which means it's fast, easy to use, and works great with other apps and services you already use. Grow your mailing list by creating email sign-up forms that you can add to your website or Facebook page. Save time by integrating with over 1,000 other apps and services on your Mac and the web. Have email campaigns sent automatically without you lifting a finger, and a whole lot more. They have real humans who are live to talk and chat on customer support, and they're available to answer all your questions. Direct Mail is the #1 top-rated email marketing app for the Mac, with 5-star reviews on the App Store, GetApp, and elsewhere. And it's also trusted by small businesses, nonprofits, schools, and Fortune 500 companies alike. Direct Mail is free to download and get started. Listeners of this show can get 10% off all of their full feature pricing plans. Head on over to directmailmac.com/appstories to check it out. Again, that URL is directmailmac.com/appstories to get 10% off when you opt for a full feature plan. Our thanks to Direct Mail for their support of App Stories. Okay, Federico, I want to talk to you a little bit about Apple Arcade too, because I have done my best not to get my hopes up too much about Apple Arcade, because I feel like Apple has disappointed me so many times with games over the years that I don't want to get my hopes up too high. But I have been very optimistic about the kinds of things that I've seen in the last year since I wrote about games on the 10th anniversary, and came away very pessimistic about where gaming was going on iOS. And that's because I'm more optimistic because, one, there's a very high quality editorial team on the App Store who seems to really understand games and has done a good job covering them there. They've also got game controller support now with Microsoft and Sony's controllers, which I covered on the site. And then now we've got Arcade, which is a curated collection of games with no ads, no in-app purchases. It's like it's a special place on the side where you can get only the nicest apps, only the nicest games, and you don't have to worry about all that junk. And it's just $5 a month. Now, I don't think Apple put their best foot forward at the keynote, because they did demos, and Apple always does game demos, and they're never really that's when we take our bathroom breaks. Everybody on the Mac Stories team knows that if you need to use the restroom, you go during the demo. And the thing is, they put out just last week a video on YouTube where they did a montage video of a whole bunch of the games that are coming to Apple Arcade. And I wish that that's what they had shown at the keynote, only because I think it does so much better at highlighting the games that are coming. I mean, it was kind of in the vein of what you see when you watch presentations at E3 or a Nintendo Direct or whatever it is. This is a good way to demonstrate the depth and the breadth of the catalog, not bringing out a couple of games, even if one of them was Sayonara Hearts, which looks like a really neat game, but just having a couple of demos just doesn't cut it, I don't think.
I went back and forth on my impressions on Apple Arcade from the event. My initial reaction was that I was really not feeling the games that Apple showed on stage. But later on Twitter, as we saw more announcements and titles that, well, actually, some of the titles were mentioned in the press release that Apple itself put out, but they were not mentioned on stage. So they were in the press release, but they were not actually shown during the keynote, which was an interesting choice. And you got right there in the press release, you got gems like, for example, there's a role-playing game, an RPG, from the developers of Bravely Default, which is one of the most popular new RPG series from Square Enix over the past few years. That came out on the Nintendo 3DS years ago. So they're making an RPG for Apple Arcade. And I think my problem is that Apple did a poor job at the event. And maybe this was by design, which I could understand, but as a gamer, I feel like Apple tried too hard to sell Apple Arcade as a service for everyone, meaning casual players, which is totally fine. But I think looking at the actual games, at the actual titles, they have a handful of games that can appeal to more, I don't want to say hardcore gamers, but people who actually play video games more frequently than others. You have role-playing games, you have indie games, you have strategy games. Those are not casual games. Those are quality games that might as well be on the Nintendo Switch, on the Nintendo eShop. And I feel like Apple should take stock of the fact that they have these developers making these games. So I feel like they may have presented Apple Arcade too much as an extension of the App Store. So you have the casual games and the puzzle games. They should have done a better job at saying, look, we got those types of experiences, but we also got the more serious ones. We have Overland, for example, which looks like an excellent survival and strategy game. We have a role-playing game. We have Rayman from Ubisoft. I mean, those are like well-known, respected companies and deep and immersive games that Apple should highlight more. And in fact, I think the video that they did last week did a better job at highlighting these games than what they did during the event, which is interesting choice.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And of course, Snowman has 2 games in Apple Arcade. They've got Skate City, which you and I have seen before at WWC, as well as Where Cards Fall. And both of those games I've gotten demos of, and they're fantastic. I mean, I don't think of them as like hardcore gamer games. I think of them as like deeper, more complex experience type games,
Right.
Is maybe a way to put it. And those have just not been surfaced very well yet. Now, I also was a little concerned that we were seeing some of the same games talked about in March and in September. And I was wondering whether, how close are we going to get to the 100 plus that Apple touted back in March? And we're not there yet, at least in terms of what's been announced. Between what Apple has talked about and what has been announced by game studios, there's something around maybe 60, 70 games at this point. So we're getting there. I personally don't care too much whether they hit 100 or not. I can't play 100 games right off the bat anyway, right?
I can't play a single game right now.
No, I know. You and me both, buddy.
Imagine 100.
Yes, absolutely. But if there are a dozen games there, at launch that I really like, then it's totally worth it. And I just feel like, that video we saw a couple of days after the event, I really hope that Apple does more of those, because what they've said at the keynote is that new titles are going to come out monthly. So that would be perfect to do kind of like a little mini video every month that came out on a particular day.
That'd be nice.
You know what I mean? And then people could look forward to what was coming up in the next month. And, I don't know. I think that would be a much better way to do it than what we saw at the keynote. But yeah, there's a lot coming down the pike in terms of games, and I'm excited about it. I felt much better after the event when I saw that there were over 60 games, and we saw that video, and so I'm optimistic again. But we'll have to wait and see until the 19th exactly what comes out.
I'll tell you what, you can take a month off and play 100 games.
I'll write about every single. We'll do a review on every single one of them. 100 days of games. 100 days of games, and then I'll just quit. I'll just be done after that.
Sure, why not? Let's do that.
All right, Federico. I think that's probably a good place to stop. There was definitely some nice app stories coming out of the keynote, especially with the camera, and I'm really looking forward to trying them all, especially the camera, because that's just one of those apps that until you get your hands on it and feel what the user experience is like and what kind of shots it takes, you're just not going to get a real sense for how good it is. But I want to thank our 3 sponsors again for this episode. That's Linode, SetApp, and DirectMail. Don't forget to go over to club.macstories.net and check out those deals before they end on September 20th. Those will be there. It's going to be a busy week. Federico's review, it's coming up, but don't forget to get the deals too. And you can find me and Federico, of course, writing at Mac Stories. Federico is also on Instagram and Twitter. He's at Viticci. That's VITICCI. And I'm at John Voorhees. JOHN VOORHWS. Talk to you next week, Federico.
Ciao, John.